everybody? Welcome to GmiasWorld, and if you haven't heard already, Antonio Brown will be the cover athlete for Madden 19. Now, the first question I was asked immediately is how will he affect the gameplay in Ultimate Team? Now, overall gameplay is what I'm going to try to, base it down to, and we're going to go back to Madden 16. Now, the first thing I'm going to do right now is I'm going to find an Antonio Brown card, and I'm going to explain to you, especially if you don't understand what I'm going to be trying to, dictate throughout this video. I'm going to go right now, and let's first of all, we're going to find an Antonio Brown wide receiver card. And the reason that I'm finding the card right now is because it's going to be a thorough explanation to why I feel the way I feel Madden 19 might have to turn out. Simply put, right? Let's just pick anyone. Okay, that's 2 minutes left on that one. We don't want to do that one because it's going to, all right, 7 hours. All right, so this is the 99 overall Antonio Brown NFL replay, right? What does this remind you of? Madden 16 OBJ, right? OBJ is what they list him at 5'11". I think he's about 5'10" too, but they list him at about 5'11". And you guys remember what happened with that game? What happened was a lot more of the ridiculous catches that we just could not tolerate, which included a lot more animations and things of that nature. Now, listen, this is the bottom line, right? We can always correlate every year of Madden. We can try to correlate based on the cover athlete what you're going to be getting into. When Gronk was on the cover in 17, that was kind of a toss-up, but then it wasn't, though, because if you guys remember, the swerve came around. And the swerve, you had to be very, very tall, usually, to make the swerve be successful when you went in and out and you came back out to catch the ball. So, for the most part, dudes are running around with Jimmy Graham. You actually had Gronk. You had Randy Moss. You had people that were tall enough to get the ball. Now, with this situation right here, what I'm envisioning is that you're going to be able to get a little bit more catch animations, similar to what it means with the aggressive catch and spectacular catch, whatever. You can see his spectacular catch is a 98. So that's what I'm looking to see. I want to see if they're going to go back to the Madden 16 days. Because remember, even right now with the way the game is patched, you can still get those same catch animations off. And what they try to do is they try to gear it towards whoever is the cover athlete. You see what I'm saying? Like Tom Brady for this year, right? As much as we want to believe that the QB is not as essential as it was in previous years, it really was. Go ahead and like the video if you overthrow every pass with a guy that has a 99 throw deep. Go ahead. Like the video. Go ahead if you had Dan Marino and 1 week he was throwing everything as a hot dot and then he just started throwing the ball out of bounds every play. It's the quarterback. He's on the cover of the game. The emphasis of the position is usually how it corresponds to Madden. So when you look at my lineup, right, this is what bothers me. When you look at my lineup right here, this is completely different than the way that I had my lineup in 16. I didn't need all this height in 16 because I could just throw the ball and I was going to get animations. And with those animations, not only would I frustrate my opponent to want to do bad things to himself, I would usually win the game. So when you guys ask me, how do I think it's going to affect Madden Ultimate Team? I think it's going to make it so that you're going to get a little bit more animation with the catches because that's what would make the most logical sense. It doesn't make any sense to put such a dynamic receiver. That's a good word. He's a dynamic receiver. He's a game changer. Why would you put such a dynamic receiver on the cover if he's not going to be able to do those type of things? Look, go back to Madden 04 with Michael Vick. Everybody knew you could run all the way back. You could be by inside your opponent's goal line, right? Run all the way back 90 yards and then run back for the touchdown with Michael Vick in 04 because he was on the cover. Regardless of what it is, EA does that type of emphasis. So with this regard right now, the way I envision it, just so you guys know, all of my viewers, whether you're new, you're old, you're just joining us, welcome everybody. You guys know what I do. I'm coming out and I'm trying to throw the ball deep. I don't care about your problems. Doesn't matter to me how your day's going. I don't care. I'm throwing the ball deep. I'm trying to dot you. I don't care. It might be easier for me in 19 to do that. You see, because what happens is this, right? Usually with the smaller guys, right? The smaller players usually are good all the time for drag routes, their elusiveness, their spin moves, and things like that. So it would make sense to have him and just let him run some drag routes, be able to go underneath. Typical formations that people run all the time. You run bunch and then he's the slot guy or he's the outside guy and you drag him or whatever, and then he just goes and does whatever he wants, jukes the guy a couple moves and just goes for 6. That's going to be back in Madden 19. Because this is what I don't anticipate them doing. Let me just go ahead and explain this, right? A lot of us had issues with the way that the game was at launch. When I say a lot of us, I'm just talking about Madden and the community, because I didn't care. I liked the game at launch. I thought the juke moves were fine. I thought everything was fine. Because as bad as it was, if you were able to play, even before the secure tackle situation, I didn't really get juked a lot. Because I would just stay back. I would just strafe and just wait for the guy to do all his moves and then conservative tackle him. Like, that's the most logical way to do it. That's the most realistic way to do it. Just wait, let the guy be an idiot, spin move, do all that stuff, and just strafe and move back and wait until he's done. Conservative tackle him. When they patched the game and took away the ability to juke move, to be elusive with spin move and stuff like that, that really hurt the gameplay overall. Okay, so what I expect in 19 is that when they do, because we know they're going to patch the game, when they do patch the game, I don't think it will affect one cut, push to pile, or any of the real player motion that allows you to control your players optimally. Because right now, everybody has to understand, right? These complaints that the general public has, a lot of you guys think that EA never hears it. They do hear it. It's just the fact that there's so many things coming in. But for the most part, a lot of the things that are really, really ridiculous, those are the things that are really addressed. Like, for instance, when, Madden 16, they had the A gaps, the B gaps, all kinds of gaps just coming right in. They created nano detection. You see what I'm saying? In Madden 17, nickel blitz was running rampant. They had the dollar blitzes. They gave you ID the mic to help with those situations. So they listen and they hear. It's just that they can't acknowledge everyone. But this is what I'm saying. If there's anyone that can get this message to EA Sports, because I'm going to always, during my streams, if I have them come in, sometimes I have developers come in and I talk directly with them. If they patch the game, as long as they leave those mechanics alone, Madden 19 will be an overall success. It's very, very simple. It's going to be an overall success because it's those little things that let people continue to play. Now, granted, we don't know as far as with OBJ being on the cover, how that's going to affect the defense, because in my opinion, Madden 18, what we're in right now, it's still a little bit too offensively friendly. Because, for instance, have you ever been standing there right in front of a guy, on defense with a linebacker that's like 6'5", say Anthony Barr, and your opponent high passes and Anthony Barr just can't jump? Yeah, me too. It happened today also. But this is the situation, right? It's been extremely friendly offensively. I don't think they're going to change that much, especially with, obviously, Antonio Brown being on the cover. But I do expect them to address certain things like that high pass. Similar to when, you guys remember when you could just dive with the fullback? You remember that before they patched it in 17? You could just get somebody that was really tall, had some high jumping, and just jump like 5 yards every time you would leap over the pile. You guys remember that? They were able to patch that within the same year because that affected early on the competitive play of the game. When everybody is able to play Madden 19 for the first week, right, and you're excited about, Antonio Brown and stuff like that, if you can't do things with Antonio Brown, that doesn't help the marketing. You see what I'm saying? Madden 16, even though it was a very frustrating game, was very successful for EA Sports simply because OBJ was able to do OBJ things. So the one good thing I can tell a lot of you guys that follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and have liked me on Facebook, and you're there for all my content, and I really appreciate all of you guys. Whenever you see me post something in 19, if AB is what AB is, more likely than not, you won't need me I won't have the necessity to have a 6'8" Harold Carmichael. So that's going to change the game for me. Because remember, before you say, oh yeah, bro, this height situation, all that stuff, if you look at some of the catches that AB was doing last year, including in the playoffs when they lost to the Jaguars, they were unreal. And I don't think height was a factor with those catches. He was taking care of Boye, like he was just all over him. He was his worst nightmare. Double coverage, triple coverage, it didn't matter. They're going to have to somehow implement that into Madden 19. So that way, when you say, oh yeah, this, when you start saying stuff like that, it won't apply. You see what I'm saying? It won't apply to the game. Because you'll be able to still do the stuff that you want to do. So it won't matter. You will still be able to do everything you want to do with Antonio Brown, regardless of what's going on with the other players that are taller and stuff like that. So The common people that buy it, that are not competitive, that just want to have fun with the game, there will be no issue for them. You see what I'm saying? There will be absolutely no issue for them. The issue will be for people like us that understand that we got to find a way to be able to still take advantage of more of the catching mechanics. For instance, if the high pass still work, like I just spoke about, lead passing, will this be a year that a guy that's 5'10 or 5'11 like OBJ you can actually execute a high pass? You see what I'm saying? Because can you do it right now? Yes, you can. You can high pass with OBJ. You can high pass with Antonio Brown right now, but it's not always going to be successful. You're usually going to have a better chance if the guy's at least 6'3", Julio Jones height, stuff like that, or you're doing it to your tight end. But will Madden 19 change that because AB is on the cover? That's what we have to wait to see. So the answer to your question, how will the cover athlete of Madden 19, Antonio Brown, affect Madden 19 gameplay? I think it's going to affect it in the way that OBJ affected Madden 16. If you have any questions or comments or you disagree, let me know in the comment section. Until next time, welcome to the family. GmiasWorld. One love.